Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another Pick a Card reading. So today's Pick a Card reading was actually a request from a viewer. They had watched a Pick a Card I did around about a year ago, which was where are you, or what's your next step on the path that you're on, which, your quest, your path, your fate, your destiny, whatever you want to say. And they said, could we have a follow-up? And I thought that's an interesting thing to think about. And of course, some of you may not have seen that, or if you did, it was a long time ago and you might have forgotten it as I have. But nevertheless, I think we are always at some point on a path or a quest. We might be near the beginning, we might be in the middle, we might be near the end and about to sort of start off on a new one. So it is kind of good to just do a kind of where are you now type of check-in reading. So that's what we're looking at this to do. And what I wanted to look at was look at the path a bit like an alchemical process and the energies that are associated with that. But we're going to start firstly with just sort of working out kind of where you're at, and what, has been going as expected, what's been surprising or what's emerging that's surprising. Then we'll have a look at it kind of alchemically with a number of different decks to look at the sort of spiritual, alchemical, astrological, that kind of energy around it. And then we'll sort of close out with sort of seeing how that's synthesizing at this point for you. So hopefully that will be interesting. To help with the choice, I've got 3 different tarot decks, one for each pile. And what I decided to do was just use the Fool card for each because the Fool's journey is the thing we're really talking about. And hopefully the imagery may draw you if you don't automatically always go to pile 2 or whatever it might be. You can, of course, go to more than one pile. You could be on 2 different paths. It could be 2 different things. It could be a career path and there could be a spiritual path. You do you. But I would say that if you're thinking, well, my career path and my spiritual path are quite different, maybe try and intuit which you think is which so that you know what to apply when you're looking at the reading. Beyond that, for the choice, the Fool card here is from the Indie Tarot for pile 1. It's from the Nightshade Tarot for pile 2. And the Dreamer card is the Fool card from the Highly Sensitive Heartlight Edition Tarot. So that's for pile number 3. So that's all there. Just before we go into it, if you haven't already rushed off to the timestamps in the description box below, just sort of noting that I do have private readings available if people want them. It seems to be an appropriate topic to mention it on because often it is where you are on your path in one or more aspects of your life. You can only get them through my Etsy store. The details are in the description box below. So I certainly will never reach out and suggest you get a reading from me. So if anything like that happens, it would be someone impersonating me, not me. So every once in a while, it's good to do a PSA to remind people there are scammers out there, even in the spiritual world, unfortunately, who are pretending to be readers that you've come to know online. So I'll never do that. So if you want a reading, and there's no pressure, it's only if you ever do, the Etsy store is the way to go, and the details are in the description box below. Beyond that, I will see you at your reading. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So what we have here is we have the Fool card, which represents really the beginning of the path, whatever the path is that you're on or that you're thinking about or inquiring about through coming to this reading. And then there are 2 other cards from the Indie deck in this case to show roughly where you are now. So the middle point will always be where you are now, and then where you're heading to is the 3rd point, which could be the end of the path or it could be like the next big step. And we also have cards from the Personal Predictions deck to get a bit of a sense about what is some of the energy around at this point, just to kind of position ourselves. Then we're going to be looking at, what does this tell us about your path? What is going as expected? What, as I say, is emerging that's surprising? And we'll look at it across that timeline, across the reading. So the first thing that I think is interesting is something that I really noticed actually as I put the Fool cards out for all of these. And I thought every single one of these Fools is looking almost to the past. And then when I did just a little bit of thought, is that always the case with the Fool card? And what I realized just in doing some very quick checking the visuals rather than relying on my memory is if you're looking at the Rider-Waite-Smith type of tarot decks, you will normally see that because that's the direction that the Fool is looking in the Rider-Waite-Smith original. If you happen to go and get a Toth deck, it seems to be looking into the centre. And if you go and get a Marseille tarot deck, it's looking in the opposite direction to this. It's looking to the future. And it really made me think that the Fool cards across those three core designs, and of course, there's all sorts of things that different artists do, but the core designs are almost a bit like the three-headed head of Janus. And I thought like just having that kind of revelation, which I'd never really thought about, at the beginning of a reading that is looking at like past, present and future for the reading was sort of interesting. And I feel that Janus, because of that, sees all the aspects. So I think that's one of the things about this. But it does suggest that because I was drawn to three decks that are more similar to the Rider-Waite tradition, and probably the greater majority of my decks are, but nevertheless, because I was drawn to those, I do think it's picking up the energy that whatever the path you're on owes as much to what you've understood of your past as it does to what you want in your future. So it's not a long range past, though. I think it's a fairly recent past. So that's interesting to me when I look at how this is playing out, because we have the Fool, the Ten of Cups and the Queen of Wands. Oh, sorry, the Seven of Wands. I don't know why I read that as the Queen of Wands. That's interesting. That's just telling me that I need to get my glasses on, I think. But when we look at the energy that seemed to trigger this, love and connection, and then we have the Two of Cups. Sorry, I really do. I am going to put on my glasses because it's not the Ten of Cups, it's the Two of Cups. I am being shown by Spirit that I need to be honest with myself about my eyesight in my advancing age. So the Two of Cups suggests that is going quite well. If this path is about connection, so I think you'll know if you're in the right reading, because it will be telling you that you are either in a new good relationship that is doing that, or you are really kind of doubling down and working with and going on a joint path with your significant other or something like that. You'll know, because if that's not the case, this probably isn't your reading, because it seems to be very significantly connected to that. And it suggests that if you were looking for love, you found it, or you're about to, because this is roughly where you are now. So this is, and then what is next after that? And you're meant to enjoy this. You're meant actually to enjoy what you've achieved, because it's along the lines of what you're trying to do. But what you're heading towards is having courage about something which fixes a problem. So that's interesting. So you may be aware of the problem. The problem might be for you that you felt that you had many things in your life, but you were alone. And this is the courage to take it from its early days into something more committed may fix the problem. Otherwise, it could be a problem that you're sharing with this person, or having that love and connection makes you feel ready to go and do something else, maybe in some other aspect of your life, and you feel ready and definitely like competitive and able to do it. So it's sort of saying to me that if a core part was to find your significant other or a person to connect with and share things with, you've pretty much established that. Or you've got the early beginnings of it, because the two can be the early beginnings. Now, it's interesting that I misread that as the Ten of Cups. So it suggests to me there's a lot of promise of a long-term thing from whatever you're in at the moment. And it's interesting that I misread that as the Queen rather than Seven, because that suggests also that this is part of your self-actualization. It's sort of like, I always think it's significant when one misreads the cards. I think Spirit is sort of saying something additional. But this is with that energy, I think, going forward to do something else. There could be, however, a lot of promise in a relationship right now, but there might also be some things you have to talk through and sort out, because this is very early in the piece and enjoying it, but it may be saying the next step will have its own issues within the relationship if this is not you going, now I feel ready to go forward and do something in my life because I feel like I've got the backing of someone I care about. So let's explore it a bit more with tarot. Let's have a look at like how far along really you are on the path and its sort of nature. Then we'll have a look at what's proceeding as you would have expected, and then we'll have a look at what could be unexpected coming up, which like, is this unexpected or is this actually expected in a way? If we see cards that suggest what's expected and it's proceeding as you would expect that next you do something jointly together, or you're sort of like pushing past obstacles, then it's expected. But if it's not, if it's all looking fairly smooth sailing, then there might be kind of the next step to take the relationship to the next level might have its own challenges. So just let's see a little bit more about where you are right now. Judgment reversed, Four of Coins, Nine of Wands reversed. Page of Swords reversed. Four of Cups reversed. Okay. What I would say, and I think this is the problem. So I think that it's going to be something around this relationship. My sense is not the relationship itself, to be honest. My sense is that there may be other people around who are miscommunicating or who are questioning your choice in some way. And I feel like they have been a block for some time in your life. They've theoretically given a foundation, but they actually, to move past this judgment and this prickly sort of communication, that's how you break through a block and you can really treat yourself. But somebody's questioning your judgment, questioning your choice by the looks of things. Now, this could be family, it could be friends, like it's going to be something like that, I would say. It's not like, this is not likely to be around work or something like that, I don't think. Unless it is something that is in your workplace and there are issues around having a relationship in the workplace, in which case you have to be very careful what you say and what you do and who you tell. And one or other of you might decide to find a job somewhere else to be able to move on and do something if that's the case. But my overall feeling is that right now you've got the beginnings of something, but you're either not really able to talk to other people about it because you know they're not going to approve, or there is sort of like pushback on some level with people who felt they kind of knew what your baseline should be. So I think we're looking at this. There is a problem to fix, but I don't actually think it's in the relationship. I think it's in how it's perceived by others. So that's interesting. And this relationship, I think, has a lot of promise, but it does have that challenge. And of course, the Fool's Journey and our path always has the challenge. But given that we're saying treat yourself and that you will fix the problem, I don't think it's the relationship that's the issue. I think that is part of your path at the moment. So let's see, what is proceeding as you expected? If you were on a path to find love and connection, and it looks like you've met someone at the very least, what is proceeding as you expected? The Devil, the Eight of Coins, the Five of Coins reversed, the Lovers reversed. Okay, there's a challenge in this relationship. Okay, there really is. But I don't think it's the relationship itself. I think it's other people. For some of you, it may very well be in a workplace. The Devil can sometimes mean that, particularly corporate workplaces or workplaces that are very controlling in some way. There is, if this is new, there's a lot of passion. It's very highly charged sensually, let's put it that way. And you would have expected that. But there is a challenge and you expected the challenge. So it's not unexpected. It's not unexpected that this would happen. You did expect to find someone, to not be alone, and that's happening. And you did think that this was something that either came about through the perfection, like through your kind of like your skill, your craft, whatever you were doing in some way, like you maybe you sort of went to learn to do something and to build your skills and you thought maybe I'll meet someone and it did happen. Or you know that you've now got to use your relationship skills in some way to deal with this issue. But you knew that there was going to be an issue. It may even be that you've been in a relationship that you didn't feel connected to and you're going to have to leave that relationship to go towards something new, and you know that's going to be difficult. But you do think and you do feel that you have the skills to do it. So I don't feel like, but you know it's going to take a bit of courage and there's a problem you have to deal with. So what's emerging? And I think to some degree you're probably not going to be surprised by this, but let's sort of see if there's anything surprising as well. What's emerging now? Sort of like if you've reached that point where, yes, you're no longer alone, but there's some sort of like other, sort of like a binding to other people that has to be broken. You have the skill to do it. What sort of is emerging or a little bit surprising? Strength. Well, that's good. Strength's emerging. Ten of Swords reversed, Ace of Wands, King of Cups. I mean, this is all very positive, pile one. This suggests you are more than capable. You've got the strength. You've got the strength to deal with it. Like the Seven of Wands. That's why I probably misread that as the Queen of Wands. Like you are very self-actualized. You know who you are. You're confident. You're able to deal with it. It won't be as dramatic as you expect. There will be a bit of drama, but it won't be as bad as you expect. And it'll be over pretty quickly. And then you can move forward to really building on this and becoming what you really want and the kind of emotional connection. I think this is a very good relationship. Even if lots of people say, no, it's not the right person for you, or why are you doing that? Or even if they have to, I mean, the other way of reading this is that they're with someone and they have to separate out to do it. And so, you have to have the bravery and the courage together to do it. But either way, it's not as dramatic as you think. So it's very positive. Like, it's definitely saying if your path at the moment was about finding a significant other, because I think this is what this reading is about, then you are well on your way. And yeah, there is something either in your life or their life or a bit of both with people who are not going to approve. But at the end of the day, it's a good connection. You're meant to do it. So let's have a look at it alchemically. So what we're going to do alchemy. We're going to do some signs along the way with that. We're going to do some astrology associated with it, and we're going to look at your spiritual role associated with this, the spiritual powers or abilities that might help you with this. Bearing in mind that we are talking a lot about a relationship, but alchemy at its core, the sort of connection of the opposites in whatever way you think of it, and that's not about your gender preference, but it's like the partner is part of it. So we'll look at that. So we're going to have the 3 stages all the way across with those 3 things. So this whole reading is built on that. It's, remember, always the middle is kind of where you're at. This is a bit to do with this challenge that's coming up. This was the spark and energy that triggered it. So for the initiation of this particular path, wow, you were meant to do it, the Raven's Head. Okay. Where you are now, sublimation, and what, in this sort of like bit of courage that you've got to have moving forward. What's the alchemical energy? Yeah, mortification, that makes sense. Okay, so firstly, as I said, Raven's Head is very destined, or at least the Raven, in a sense, it says, has chosen you. This is a moment of imperative. There is an imperative, and it's like you can't look back, really. You have to keep moving forward. And maybe that's the sort of interesting energy with the Fool in the way that it's depicted in Rider-Waite-Smith, because it is the beginning of a new journey, but it's sort of looking back as well. The Raven's Head is about inevitable, spiritually important, very, like alchemical, very life-changing sort of events and so forth that just take you with it. So I would say some of you may not have even known you were going to be on this journey, to be honest, and that could complicate it a lot more. So if you are either been in a relationship, you're supposedly settled, you have all that around you, and then it's a bit like a tower relationship, and like something just comes and completely disrupts everything because of its intensity, or if the other person was in that situation, or for both of you, there could be some power dynamic, because that's a very powerful card. So, with the Devil card turning up and things like that, there could be a very strong power dynamic around you that impacts this. This was meant to be. And it's one of the reasons why I think it's going to work out, but it's not necessarily easy. Right now, this is why it says, treat yourself a bit. There's the whole sense of like, I'm clearing out and flying. Sublimation is kind of the rising above and the higher perspective and so forth. It's literally sublime. It's a beautiful sort of feeling. So the beautiful feeling is there in the sense, yeah, this is right. This is what I've been called to. And you're meant to enjoy that, because there is going to be a period of time. Mortification is the kind of the part of the process that like breaks everything down and makes us realize what will and won't stand the test of time. Now, this is suggesting this is going to, but it's not going to be easy. So there is definitely something here that complicates this relationship. It may well be a kind of soul twin or twin flame or something like that. They're often complicated. But even if it isn't, I just think there's a material thing or other people's opinions. But I do think the promise here is you'll get through it. But like, you need to be prepared for that. You have the strength for it. It won't last long, remember, and it births something really beautiful. But it's like right now there's almost a period of time of just enjoying, understanding the importance of this connection. Okay, so let's see some signs along the way using dream imagery. So for the beginning of this, when I think you probably had a sense something was coming in, or you just felt now is my time to look for love, because there was a bigger forces spiritually nudging you here, your spirit team at the very least. So the dream kind of imagery, a sign around it. Chest protects the heart. That's good. So you have heart protection. Love, affection, strength, passion. Yeah, like there's a sense of like, yeah, what's at the core of you? This is, what is the beating heart of this? And it's powerful, but it is transformative. I think, probably when you met this person, your heart literally skipped a beat, that kind of energy. But I like the fact that there's a protective energy. Right now, what are the signs or energies that you should be looking out for? Glass, okay, sensitivity, fragility, vulnerability, transparency. Yeah, it's sublime. It's a very sublime, beautiful feeling. Like, it's beautiful. And I like in this imagery that that beautiful glass is actually protected, just like the heart is protected. There's a similar filigree. There's a similar sort of sense of protection. So there is a protection around this. You're meant to enjoy just the beauty of it right now and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and transparent and sensitive and connect. So this is not meant to warn you against the relationship at all. And then when we head into what might be the tricky dealing with everybody else and everybody else's opinions phase of all of this, table. Oh, that's interesting. Family, community, prosperity, respect, tradition, taking action. So it does have a feeling like it could be connected to work, or it might have some monetary, or as I say, family sort of energy around it. It may be the family who have to be convinced that this is a good connection. It is meant to take you to family, to community, all of that kind of thing. But there is a need for strategy, and you do have to take action to bring this into being. So it's like giving it a seat at the table, so to speak, in whatever group this is, or creating your own table. Because if this is friends and they don't like it, maybe you have to find a new group of friends, to be frank. Okay, so let's have a look at some planetary pairings around the energy. So for the initiation, this really powerful initiation of the heart, really. We have Moon and Chiron. It's a deeply healing and protective energy. It probably ultimately needs to heal something else as well too. Ideally, it's to move past the judgment that is against this from other people and heal that. But at the very least, healing within you that you can be loved, that you can find the connection, and that you can make that choice. So that's very, very powerful. The energy right now, I mean, it should be quite lovely right now. Moon and Venus, yeah. There's a very strong spiritual connection between you and this person. So yeah, enjoying that, enjoying the love, enjoying the beauty of it, the sensitivity of it, the sublime energy. Like there's meant to be a sublime energy. As I say, you'll know if this is your reading, because if you're not feeling that right now, it's probably not your reading. It could be though for some of you. Some of you may actually, it might kick in just a little bit further down the track. Like you may have to sort of be kind of here and believe it, and then you move into this. But for most, I think you'd know if you're in this reading. But that's lovely. But what about the difficult? There is a difficult call for challenge and courage and all that kind of thing. Energy. Sun and Uranus. Yeah, this is you claiming your life path and the change that you need for it. Like it feels a lot like breaking away from a workplace, breaking away from a family tradition. That's not what you want. Like you finding your life path and following it. So this is very connected to your life path, even though it's about a relationship. This relationship is really key to it, or how you respond to this relationship may be key to it. Like you're being called to step up. So the last aspect I wanted to look at the 3 stages was using the Mystic Maiden's Oracle. And that's to look at like spiritual energies or spiritual archetypes or whatever that you can access or work with, or you have access to work with to bring this, what you can do now and what you can do when it's challenging. So for the initiation of this, the seafarer, adventure, exploration and resilience, like going, I'm ready to go on the journey. I'm ready to look for love or the connection. I mean, I do think this is likely to be love because 2 of Cups is fairly traditionally romantic, but it could be just a very solid friendship or something, depending upon where you are in your life and what you want. But you're ready to go on an adventure, and you knew that you're going to need strength to do it. So I would say you would have known that there could be pushback. I'm getting just something for some of you. This might be like coming out. Like it could be something like that. And you're more than, this is the right thing to do, and you're with the right person, and you will find it's not as stormy as you thought, but it could be something like that. That's very specific. It's not going to be everybody, but it is a possibility. But in any case, you know that you need the resilience. You've got that sense, I'm prepared to go on the journey. And it's an emotional journey. It's on the sea. So what I like too is that like the actual sea behind you, if you look at it, is calmer than you possibly think. You've got your back to it at the moment. You might be thinking it's going to be stormier than it is. The spiritual archetype that you can work with to enjoy and just delight in how beautiful this connection is. The seer, supernatural insight. No, yeah, you just know. And that goes with the moon and Venus, just knowing, like you've got to trust your instincts on this. This is a very important, I mean, like the seer would very much connect with the raven. Very clear. You have a knowing here, and you're knowing. You need to trust that. And then for the courage to go through whatever pushback is associated with this. The warrior. There you go. Bravery, strength, and courage. Like you've got it all. Like Pi 1, you're all over this basically. This is a relationship you're meant to be in. It's probably like one of those kind of destined ones, but at the very least, it's definitely aligned with your life path. It's meant to be really beautiful. You're going to get some pushback, but you're more than able to deal with that. So that's lovely. So that's the overall sense. What we're going to do is we're going to finish with a thing I do semi-regularly now with picker cards, where I ask you to think of a number between 1 and 5, and I just use another tarot deck and I just put out 5 cards just to kind of give the synthesized message or anything else that Pile 1 people need to know for their particular part of this collective. So if you haven't chosen your number 1 to 5 and you can't just instantly do it, pause the video because I'm just about to start, and then just unpause when you're ready. So for pile number 1, we have 5 of Pentacles reversed. For pile number 2, we have Page of Swords reversed. For pile number 3, we have the Devil here. This is all just showing what you're kind of dealing with. For pile number 4, we have 5 of Wands. For pile number 5, we have 6 of Cups. Okay. So for those who chose number 1, this is picking up the energy of you won't be alone. And I think it's bigger than just you won't be just this person. So I think it is saying that, if your family is the issue, your friends will support you. If your friends are the issue, your family will probably support you, or you'll find other friends. Like this is saying you're not going to be alone. You're not going to be alone. And it's also possible that if this is connected to some work thing and one or other of you need to kind of move on so that there aren't issues, you won't have financial issues associated with it. That will resolve itself. You or the other person will be able to find something relatively quickly. So that's good. If you chose number 2, communication is the key thing here. There's something a little bit out of whack with the communication. It probably means that you have to choose who to communicate with and when, and who to tell and when, because there is that possibility of things being misconstrued. It would also suggest be careful how you communicate. It would be better face-to-face than on things like email or text. If you chose number 3, I do think this is connected either to a workplace and something like that, or some very strong kind of family traditions and beliefs and so forth that are more limiting than they should be. And so part of the courage is to break away from that and to realize that the devil energy of limitation, we kind of give it that power. We just need to make the decision to move away from it. And that it's interesting because, what follows that, is the Tower. There's that sort of sense that, we'll have the energy of destruction and so forth. So the Tower will come after that. So I do think there is that kind of, there's a very strong spiritual, this is very alchemical kind of energy for you in, if you've chosen number 3. If you've chosen number 4, then there might be a little bit more wailing and gnashing of the teeth. It's not going to stop anything. 5 of Wands to me is always like a lot of fuss and bother and conflict that's a bit petty, but you will probably need to deal with that and be aware of that. And if you chose number 5, this could even be the return of someone with the 6 of Cups, someone that either from a past life or from earlier in their life. If you wanted to kind of reconnect with someone that you were with before, it could be that. Or there could be a resolution of issues with your family and with who you've always been from childhood that is on offer here once you go through it. So I think it's pretty positive. I mean, different ones here have a little bit more to deal with in terms of communication, but by and large, it's a very positive reading. I think you're in a very positive point on your life path, your quest, your destiny, or whatever you want to call it, particularly around love and connection. And I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you've come to the reading with the Nightshade Tarot. And something that I actually meant to say in the introduction, but I didn't think about it. So I sort of said it at the beginning of pile 1, and I'll say at the beginning of each of these readings, is that something that struck me, and I hadn't really thought about it before, but all the Fool cards that I put down had the Fool looking to the past, or what we would normally think of as the past. If we think about the fact that we read from left to right, it's sort of like that's the past and that's the future kind of energy. And then I thought, I think that might be fairly typical of the Fool, just to sort of check. And I checked, and it's typical of Rider-Waite-Smith versions. It's not typical of Toth, which is more looking to the front, and it's not typical of Marseille, which looks in the other direction. So I thought it probably is relevant that I really noticed it for this. And what I think that means is that these paths that I'm reading about are rooted in some degree in the past. Like, it's not that they're the past thing that you're rehashing or anything like that, but an understanding of the past and where you've come from and so forth has somehow informed what this path is. And I think particularly maybe for this pile, because I feel like this version of the Fool, you don't have the dogs sort of yapping at their heels going, be careful or whatever. It's like both are very resolute, and it looks like they're both looking at the same thing. And I feel like the dog there is a companion, a loyal companion, whether it's a person, a friend or something that you have in your life, or whether it's a spirit guide or something like that. But there is a real sense of like, I understand what I'm coming from, and therefore I'm keeping an eye on that while I move towards what I want to achieve here. And it sort of makes sense with some of the rest of the energy here. So just to describe what we're looking at here, this is the initiation energy of this path. So you are seeking to some degree relief and answers to a problem. And that's a feeling I get, like looking at something like, you know, like we're going to fix this. Like whatever's formed, we're going to fix it, whatever it was, because there needs to be answers, and you're very resolute, very focused on getting that. Where you are right now is you've got an idea of the direction to go in, like it's literally looking the other way. And it's almost a little bit more like the Fool, the way the Fool is done, sort of up on some rocks with, you know, like at the sea below and all that kind of thing. And it's like you have integrated maybe this energy of the loyal companion, or you could, again, because it's a two, you could be moving forward with someone who is a friend or significant other or business ally or political ally or whatever it is, depending upon whatever this is. So you're ready to actually step forward, and you know that what you want is a peaceful end, you know, and you've got these sort of like, you know, seabirds flying up. There is a sense of wanting to look towards, and even the clouds are sort of shifting, like to move towards something that's more peaceful. So now that you've understood the issue, you want to end a battle. So it's a battle that's been existing for a while in some aspect of your life. And where you're going is to use your power and your skills to do it with the Magician, and you will be rewarded for this. So I think you're kind of doing it a little bit selflessly in a way, or because it just needs to be done, or you're just the right person for the job. You know, it feels like Mission Impossible, like here's your mission and all that kind of thing. But it's not impossible. But there's just that sort of sense of you are the right person for whatever this is, and it will end conflict on some level. You're very focused, and you're able to marshal a lot of skills. So that's the energy that it's heading towards. So let's get a little bit more information with tarot. So I'm going to start with, you know, what kind of like, where are you? How far along are you on the path? This looks like you're fairly early in the actual action. But if it goes to the Magician pretty quickly, like that's pretty rapid. So I feel, again, like you're also looking at what you have in your kit bag from the past that you can put to action here as well too. You're not a novice at whatever you're doing here. But let's sort of see where you're up to. Then let's have a look at what's going as expected, and then let's look at what's emerging or what might be surprising. So how far along are you, and a little bit more about what this is about, or what the battle energy is. Two of Swords reversed, the Sun, Seven of Swords reversed, Four of Cups, Ten of Wands reversed. Oh yeah, relief. There's something about whatever this is, like this kind of feels like, you know, either something in a workplace where you are a problem solver and you're going to sort through something, and there might be a bit of a battle to do it, but you'll do it and you'll be rewarded for it. And it's like greater efficiency in some way, where maybe information is not that well available, or you know, has been blocked in some way. So there's an energy like that, or maybe, you know, something social or political that's similar. But there's definitely a sense of removing blocks and unwanted burdens. Like you are looking, like it right from the beginning, you know you needed to get relief, answers to something, and you wanted to stop all the petty battling that was going on. So you know this is all about about working out where the emotional issues are that are blocking efficiency. And you're very realistic about it. This is why you're the right person. You're hyper analytical. You might be a really good business analyst or financial analyst or something like that. And this is part of your life path. What you're doing, this is why you're kind of like emerging as a magician. This is marshalling your skills and your life path and doing what you're meant to do. I think you are like a problem solver, an efficiency expert, political strategist, something like that. That energy is what's operating here. And it's very realistic. You're very smart about this. So even when there isn't all the information you need, and this is telling me you're quite early in whatever this is, it'd be like you were going in as a consultant to an organization to work out what it is that's stopping them from being profitable or something. You haven't got all the information yet, but you kind of know what the problem is now, and you know what are the measures that you would want to get. Now, it doesn't have to literally be that, but that's just an example. So let's see what is sort of going as you would expect at this point. Bearing in mind that I think it's fairly early in whatever this is that you're doing. Or if it's not, it's fairly early in your life path, because it is talking about your life path, realizing that this is something that you're here to do. Seven of Pentacles reverse. You know something's not growing or building. You know it's overburdened in some way. Knight of Pentacles. It's definitely around work or material things. Wheel of Fortune reversed. Ten of Pentacles. Yeah. This is definitely, like, it's interesting. The pile one, it was pretty clear what the nature of the reading was. I think it is two here. It's something that's material, whether it's a workplace or it's some sort of social or political situation, or even you dealing with your own money, your own investments or whatever. There's definitely something here about money. And there is definitely, like, the old energy has to shift. It does have to be something new. You could, in fact, be a new manager or a new CEO or a new head of corporate or something heading into an organisation after there's been the realisation that major change has to occur. That's a possibility as well too, because things have slowed down in terms of growth. Things are kind of almost at a standstill, literally. You know that. You also know they can get going again, but you know it's going to take time. And you know you've got to be dedicated to this. So you're kind of like knuckling in and ready for the journey. Now, you're very skilled, so I think you'll do it quicker than most would do it. But you know that's what this is all about for you. So what will be emerging sort of either naturally or might surprise you a little bit as you follow this path? Empress, Six of Pentacles. Okay, you're going to have a benefactor or a supporter that you didn't expect. Nine of Wands, Temperance reversed. Okay, there's two things. This is very the people you're dealing with. The first thing is that you are going to get a supporter that you didn't expect. So if you came as a consultant and you were like kind of engaged by someone, there's going to be someone else in the hierarchy that goes with it. Otherwise, there's a person or maybe even a spiritual energy that is about generosity and growth, and they're going to support you. On the other hand, just when you're close to the finish line, there are going to be certain energies that try to kind of throw a spanner in the works. So you using all your skills and understanding that there is a battle, and understanding you may think the battle has already ended, but in fact it's going to kind of come back up again in some form near, just as you're about to cross the finish line. But there is support being sent to you, either spiritually or literally as a person. And I think for most of you, it's a person. And that kind of connects nicely with the magician. Like, it's sort of someone who is going to be more powerful than you in this, but they're going to be supportive and they're going to see your ability. So that will work. But yeah, at the 12th hour, you're going to have like, oh, I thought that battle was sorted and now it's come back in another form. So just to be aware that's going to happen. So as I said in the introduction, I really want to see this as sort of alchemical. I want to see the energy that you're going through. So starting with the initiation where you are now and going forward, we're going to start with an alchemy energy. Then we're going to look at it from a kind of symbolism and an astrological and a spiritual archetype level, just to get a little bit more information about the stages. So the initiatory stage for you on an alchemical level, sap of the moon plant. There's something very mysterious. Like, I think that you're the sort of person who with your focus and your analytical ability, you're brought in when people don't actually understand what's going on, when something sort of seems almost impossible or weird. You also use a great deal more intuition than people think. They think it's all very analytical, but you really do bring intuition in. Where you are right now, Iron, okay, that's sort of strong energy, just moving forward, like Mars takes things forward, but it's a strong energy. It's like you have a resilience that you're taking forward at the moment. And you're dealing with something very, like iron is very material. It's a very material thing that you're dealing with. But there is, as you can see with this, a wish for a kind of breakthrough energy associated with it. And where are you heading to with the Magician and the reward? The Moon. Okay, yeah, there's a female. I think it's a female energy. I think it's a female supporter that's going to come through. Or they have a feminine energy anyway, even if they're not literally that gender. They have a feminine energy. Plus, it's like it's circuiting around. You actually use the power of your kind of like... actually, there's two things to talk about here. One is that you're using the power of your kind of intuition as well as your intellect. And that's the kind of magic that brings it all together. But secondly, you will have support, and it's most likely to have a feminine feel to it. But the other thing about the Moon, though, is that it's like this is the life path and the destiny of the kingmaker rather than the king. Let's put it that way. Or queen maker rather than the queen. Because the Moon takes its reflection. It has reflected light. So I feel like this doesn't necessarily mean you couldn't one day be a CEO or, a leader of a political party or whatever this is. But right now, where you are and where you're going to get to at this point in the path is being more connected to power and connected to the life paths of others and helping them with it. Doesn't mean you won't progress to other things later, but that's the energy that we're talking about. Let's see the kind of signs, symbolism, dream logic or whatever around each stage. So around the coming into the mysterious and bringing both this very sharp analytical mind, but also very strong intuition to the table, we get soap, detox, cleansing, karmic power, self-care, and you're brought in to fix something. You're a fixer, a problem solver, a fixer. And this is partly why you probably have to look to the past, like what created this situation. Your first stage was diagnosing the issue, to be honest. Now, where are you up to? Fruit or cake, celebration, luck, happiness, prosperity, reward for hard work. So you're already starting to get some rewards. You're going to get even more at the end. But I think it's like, I've worked it out. I know what needs to last and is strong and what, needs to kind of give way. So you've already achieved. It's like you've got a plan and you can celebrate that. And then where you're heading towards? Clock, stress, fear of death, heavy expectations, impending decision. This is. When it is going to work out and you will have the support you need, but there is going to be a point just when you're about to have achieved everything, the magic's coming together, you're about to have the big reward, there's going to be some stress, there's going to be a timeline, there's going to be issues around other people. So be ready for a second wave of challenge near the end of this process, whatever it is. Okay, so let's see what it looks like astrologically with some pairings of planets. The initiatory diagnostic stage. Mars and Uranus. So yeah, it's you getting something unblocked. Like getting something unblocked. Actually, in this deck, there's actually an image for toilet. It's almost got that feeling, like unblocking something that needs to be unblocked so it can move forward. You re-energize things. And you are about change. And you're kind of a person of action as well. The energy right now where you kind of go, okay, I know the path. I know what we're going to do now. Mars and Chiron, now you know what needs to be healed. You've done the diagnostics. The first thing is you've got to come in shock and awe. Like you do feel like an efficiency expert or something like that coming in. It's shock and awe. And then once you've sorted it, now you can actually start to heal and move forward. So this is part of your process, I think. And then near the end where you are going to get the reward, but you're going to have a bit of pushback in the last stages of it all. Moon and Venus. Oh, this is a connection. There's a female energy around this. As I say, female gender or just somebody who has a very feminine, very divine feminine energy. There's something like that going on that connects, and they get you because they see the intuition as well as the analysis. So you come across very masculine. You don't have to be male or identify with that gender, but there's like a lot about action, decision, moving forward, almost surgical. Like sometimes Mars, could be almost surgical because it's like action. But the resolution, getting over whatever this last block is much more where your intuition is and your kind of people skills and this feminine energy that is helpful. Okay, so let's see for you then. It's interesting because I was using the last part of this is your spiritual archetypes that are operating at each stage. And this is a deck that has feminine versions of that. So it might even be an aspect of you if it's not another person, though I think with most of you it's another person. But let's see the initial spiritual archetypal energy for this diagnostic, almost forensic problem solver. The Hellraiser. Yeah, okay. You come in with a splash. Do you know what it actually makes me think of? And I'm not getting into the politics of this and whether anything is right, wrong, or indifferent, but it feels a bit like that, all the sort of stuff that's happened around Doge in America. Like this sort of like there's people coming in and going, we're going to look at everything and we're going to work out where it's efficient and where it isn't. And you can question some of the methodology, you can question some of the outcomes. As I say, I'm not getting into any of that, but it has a similar energy. It's like you come in and you probably seem like an agent of chaos, but you actually aren't. You're so resolute and so focused, and you are going to find the next step. But this might be why there's a block later, because you're probably going to disturb power structures. Where are you right now? The stargazer, contemplating life's mysteries. Okay, and there is a kind of contemplative thing here. You've got the way forward, but you probably also worked out that like there was the analysis and then there was the intuition. And I think for you there's almost an aha moment of, oh, I am actually using both those things, that then takes you to the magician. So then the magician, what's the sort of other spiritual archetype we're talking about? When you do get across the finish line and get the reward. The forest mystic, grounding and enlightenment. Yeah, so you bring something that can go forward. From like letting go of the past, the healing energy is operated. But I think this is a journey for you to realize that you probably thought this incredibly smart analytical mind that you probably use a lot in work, I'd say, and your intuition, which is also very powerful, are somehow separate. But in this, you're going to realize they marry together, and that's how you move forward. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to do was something that I've been doing in quite a few readings recently, pick a card readings, to kind of almost like segment this out into 5 different groups within the collective, just to give you a final synthesizing message. So I need you to choose a number between 1 and 5 and pause if you need to do that, because in a second I'm just going to start dealing out for each of those numbers, and whatever number you've chosen is, I'll deliver your synthesizing message with that number. So for number 1, Judgment. For number 2, King of Wands reversed. For number 3, the Tower. Yeah, you come across a bit like the Tower. For number 4, the 5 of Pentacles. For number 5, the King of Pentacles reversed. Okay. So if you chose number 1, this is definitely part of your life path. This has got karmic connections to it. You'll have karmic connections, and in fact, I think maybe the supporter that you get will be very karmic for you. That's definitely the case. It also suggests there's a decision coming up very soon that you'll need to make quickly. Otherwise, the opportunity associated with it will pass. So I almost feel like for you, one of these birds is coming in with a message. So pay attention. Something's coming very soon that's crucial, and you'll need to make a decision quite quickly. If you chose number 2, there's somebody very egotistical associated with this that you're going to deal with. It's like if you're in an organization that's in trouble, it could be because it's being run by a narcissistic megalomaniac or a social group or a political group or whatever. You do need to bear that in mind. That's probably the energy that will try and push back near the end. If you chose number 3, this is a major shift in whatever is going on. It has to happen. It almost feels like you would have been called into this or got involved because it's an emergency and the Tower will either survive the change or it won't. I think with you it will survive it, or what needs to survive will, but that's connected to that. But this is also for you an opportunity to step up and push through, even when it's difficult, as it will be near the end. because this is part of your destiny and clearing out and understanding who you truly are as a magician. If you chose number 4, you may feel very alone. Or there may be, I would say, a short-term material cost to this for you in some way. You will ultimately get the reward because it said it at the end, but that you may feel that you're risking that in some way, either being isolated or material loss. But I think you will come through it. But the stakes are fairly high on this. And I do think it's suggesting you're going to succeed, but nevertheless, they're real. Like, this is very real. If you chose number 5, then I would say whatever you're dealing with, like, it's kind of like either 5 or 2, there's powerful people who have to be moved on, who are having an impact. For pile 2, it's more around their ego. For pile 5, there's like bad financials at the base or something along those lines. So be aware of that. Like, the foundations either are very unstable, though that might be a little bit more if you chose number 3, but it might also be that you're being brought in to take an organisation to its next evolution because it's reached as far as it's going to do with what it's doing at the moment. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Dreamer, which is the Fool from the Highly Sensitive Heartlight edition tarot. And something I meant to say in the introduction, but I forgot, so I'm saying it in each of the beginnings of this, is that it struck me when I looked at the 3 together that all of the Fools are looking what looks like towards the past. So this one is looking a little bit up into the sky, so it could be a little bit of the past and the future associated with it. But nevertheless, there's that sort of sense. And then I realised, I thought, oh, is that really typical? And when I kind of did a little bit of research, I thought, yeah, it's really typical of Rider-Waite. Like, the Rider-Waite sort of thing is looking in that direction. If you have Thoth, it's looking towards the front. And if you have Marseille, it's looking in the other direction. So I think it is kind of more to do with the kind of what's the tradition that the deck is based on. I mean, each artist will do whatever they're inspired to do. But I still thought the fact that I noticed it, I always pay attention to what I notice. And I think that was because in this particular set of readings, all the piles, the current path that you are on is probably one of a number in a row that would form part of your overall path, but which has within it the steps that you're on now and the pathway or the tributary that you're on now does have its grounding in something in the past. Doesn't mean that you're resurrecting something in the past, doesn't mean it's the same thing, but it's like you are building on the foundation you already have. The other thing, taking this into account, that I find interesting is that the Dreamer or the Fool is looking in one direction and the dog that is looking after her is looking in another direction. The dog is not worried in the way that it is in the original Rider-Waite-Smith, but it is looking at something a little bit different. So I feel as though there could be a couple of perspectives that are useful here, and I feel that the dog may either be a friend or an ally that has a slightly different perspective that is going to be helpful in this, or it could be a spirit guide that is looking slightly different area, slightly different sort of focus. And so a couple of perspectives I think are going to be necessary for this. And that kind of makes sense given what we get with the rest of this, because this is where you are right now. And this is where you're heading towards, and this gives us some more information. So the initial part of this, you were pretty calm and collected. You had your dreams, you were ready to pursue them, you were calm, and it says calm, peace, clear mind. You kind of knew what you wanted to do. So I would say whatever the history of this was, you'd achieved certain things and you felt good, okay, this has been established, what do I want to do next? It's probably also why this is the deck that it's called the Dreamer, and they seem to be looking also up into the sky, which gives a kind of a different feeling to some of the others. It feels less like you're looking completely into the past, but more about what's next on a kind of almost astrological level. So there's a very strong spiritual energy around this. But I think that really this is a path you didn't expect. I think this is almost the thing that you did while you were busy making other plans and all that kind of thing. So that energy is there's a bit sort of unexpected with it, I would say. And I would say with the Knight of Cups here, there's an offer that has come that has an emotional energy. That is the thing that's kind of like making you realize you're on some sort of a path, but I'm not sure that you're overly happy with the offer. Or if you are, you sort of fear discontent and loss associated with it. So this could be a person who's become very comfortable in their own shell and they're going, I don't need a relationship. And then along comes an offer and you're thinking, is this going to work out or not? Do I really want that or not? Could be about relationships because Knight of Cups is often about that, but it can be any type of offer, particularly one that has an emotional impact. But it's interesting because where you're at now and with this offer coming through, there's this opportunity, this offer, this energy, it's taken you from being contented to not being contented. And I feel as though there's almost something here about I feel really comfortable in my own shell with myself. Others coming into the thing, it upsets the dynamic, and yet it's happening obviously for some reason. And it will shift your direction, changing direction. You either will actually, if this is not a welcome energy at all, you may have to shift direction to be away from it with the Emperor reversed. Or you may have to come to terms with the Emperor upright would be I'm sovereign to what I do. And I almost feel like there's a very calm sovereign thing here. So for some of you, this might be, and it doesn't have to be romance, it could be any type of connection, that this is asking you now to think about collaboration and connection rather than being on your own. And that is a very big change in direction. But for others, it could be that you have a sense of something psychically here. If you follow this offer, you pretty quickly will move away from it because it's not working. So it's interesting because of all the readings, I feel almost as though this is a little hiccup and then that's the next start of a new thing. Like this is actually a kind of like you were fairly serene and then this is almost like a blip on the radar. It's where you are at the moment and it feels like it's where you are, but it feels like it's meant to really shift something. And that starts something where you're either not on your own and sovereign to yourself, or you go, no, I've got to move that away because I'm not in the right environment to move forward to what I want to dream and bring into being. So it's the most complex of the three, I have to say, pile three. So let's have a look with tarot. We're going to ask a little bit more about where you are now. She might give us a bit of an idea about what this is. And then we're going to have a look at what's proceeding as you expected and then also what's emerging that was unexpected. So a little bit more about where you are now and what this is all about. Nine of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles reversed. Yeah, you are very independent. This is about independence versus not independence. Oh, okay, I thought that was going to be the blank card, but it isn't. Ace of Wands. Oh, that's interesting. Four of Wands. The Chariot reversed. Okay, all right. So starting point is independence. And it's like you've broken away from something. Like this could very easily be someone who's either left a workplace that wasn't working and they're out on their own and doing what they want to do, or they left a marriage or some other long-term relationship and they're out on their own, or you've just left home. But there is a sense here of like this independence and doing what you want financially and otherwise, just being independent was the energy that you wanted and you kind of achieved that. But then this new thing comes in and it's most likely to be a relationship with the Ace of Wands, but it could be a creative partnership. It could be a new inspiration that means that you have to connect with other people. And for some reason, you associate this with loss. So if this was like leaving a long-term relationship that didn't work out and this is a new relationship just when you're not looking for it, you could be like, well, I know where this ends up. It could be the feeling you have around it. It does have a potential though. With the Four of Wands, it does have a potential to develop into something good, but it's not the life path you expected and it slows down certain things. So as I say, this could be pointing to, if you are to pursue this, that you've got to stop the independent thing and shift that, and it shifts the trajectory in some way. But it does have potential. If though you feel the potential will only go so far and then it's not going to work, it'll eventually halt, then you know at some point you've got to change direction. And the Chariot reverse probably is telling you that you'll have to change direction in one way or the other around this. But I think it's sort of like it's an unexpected energy around you, and that's where you're at the moment, a surprise. So given that, we're going to look at what you would have expected at this point, and then we'll have a look at what's emerging and what might be surprising. So what would you have expected at this point of your journey, if it was a journey of contentment within your own skin, and then suddenly there's like another person in some form associated with all of this, what you expected, what's going as you expected. Page of Pentacles. Materially, things are good. The Hierophant. Yeah, and if it is around work or anything like that, you've found what you really want to do. You're kind of in the right industry. You're doing the right thing. The Tower. Wow. After a great change, or like like any relationship was going to be, it would have to be powerful, like a Tower relationship to stop you on the path that you're on. But it almost feels like, oh, of course this comes up now. Or it's that you've come from the debris of something breaking down and you're now establishing yourself. It depends on what this is. Six of Wands reversed. You're not expecting the glittering prizes coming out of this, but you're on the right path. It might have been triggered by some disappointment too, like where you should have had something and should have achieved something, but you didn't get it. But you're kind of, you know that you're back on the path, you know what you're doing, and you feel much more independent. So a very classic way of looking at this would be, if you missed out on a promotion in an organisation or an organisational change happened, you weren't recognised and moved forward, you might have gone, okay, that's it, I'm out on my own, and it's doing well, but it's come off that kind of energy. But on the other hand, if this is like, oh, of course something's going to come up, you may feel like, I know what this leads to. I won't be recognised, or I'll have to put my dreams aside for the other person. And like, you either do decide to do that to some degree and become more of a partnership, or you go, no, I'm not going with that person. It kind of depends. So let's see what is emerging that's surprising. Queen of Wands reversed. High Priestess reversed. Nine of Wands. Ace of Swords. Okay. This represents a very different way of thinking, or a different path than what you expected. So this really is a kind of, if you're going to get, it's almost like a recalibration to the path that's going to work for you. There is a big shift that has to happen. So you're in a transitional stage. That's what this is saying. You expected to some degree to feel more self-actualized where you are. And to have kind of like really started to show who you are, but you don't feel you've entirely achieved that. And then this new thing comes in. And so I think what's tearing this apart, like it doesn't have to be a love relationship. It could be, but it could be some sort of business partnership or whatever. The thing that is putting you in a transitory thing to work out, do I go forward on my own, or do I connect with this other person or these other people or whatever, and then kind of give up some of my direction but collaborate instead, is you're not really sure what to do, like which to do. One part of you could be drawn into that because although you're doing pretty well with whatever you're trying to do and establishing yourself, you're still only in the early stages of it. And so you don't feel fully recognised. But you could get there. But then there's this other option, and what is coming with it. And I don't think so far it's not really telling us, I mean, because it's collective reading, it's probably different for different people, whether or not that Emperor reverse is you going, no, that's just a chimera, I shouldn't do it, I should just move forward on my own, or whether it's I actually have to think about collaboration rather than just doing this solo. But there's something like that going on. So let's have a look at what's going on alchemically. It might tell us, at least for the greater majority of people who come to this, which of those it is that it's talking about. So we're just going to get an alchemical energy for each stage, and then we're going to look at a few other aspects of each stage as well. But alchemically, this sort of when you were calm and happy and you knew what you were doing, even if the way was going to be long and there were going to be challenges, you were kind of feeling really up to it. And as I say, that dog looking in a different direction, it's like something really unexpected. It's like the dog sees it before you do. It's like, oh, what do I do with this? But you're probably aware of it now, or you're just about to be. But the energy when you're in that kind of calm space, now that's interesting, the yellowing. That is where you think you've worked it all out. Like it's an interesting thing. Like you've been through a lot, and that makes sense with like the tower that we saw before. You've been through a lot, and it's like they say like the yellowing's a bit like a bruise, in the latter stages of the bruise healing, it goes yellow. So you've done a lot of healing at that point, and that's why you're sort of feeling calm and so forth. But it's a bit deceptive because there's something else coming, which is pretty much what the rest of this is saying. So you kind of thought, I'm on my path now, I know what I'm doing. And then this thing comes out of the blue. So what's the energy around that? What's the alchemy around that? Darkening, okay. Yeah, you really don't know what to make of this. You feel, actually, like, is it taking you backwards? Is it taking you into a tower moment? You think, I thought I did all my healing and now there's a tower moment potentially, because the darkening is heading into the Negredo in alchemy. So it's heading into the kind of the burning out of all the aspects of it and clearing it out, a very tower type energy. So yeah, there's something about this. It's an offer and it may have a lot of potential, but you don't really trust it. You don't know whether to trust it. And then where is it heading with the Emperor reversed? The Void. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely a transitory stage. This is where you're at. You're in a transition. And I don't think even that is the outcome. That's just the next step. So I think what's happening, because the void is where we start to, this is where the Ace of Swords could come in, where we start to find the new idea, the new creation and so forth. I'm just wanting to look again, changing direction, yeah. There's a shift, like whether it is that you do collaborate with someone and then you're kind of both in the void and you're needing to work out what could this be, because we don't know, we've got to create it, it hasn't existed before. Or you walk away from all of that and you go, no, this is my journey into myself. I actually thought I'd done it all, but I need to go deeper, because the void is a bit like, the art in the Kabbalah. It's sort of like it's a bit like crossing the abyss in, high magic. It's all the sort of energy of potentiality, but not knowing the answer. So I think whatever this is, like your next step, you're not going to know the answer initially. Whether you're decided to connect with someone, you won't know what it's going to do, and so you're taking a risk. Equally, if you don't connect with them, you could be losing something that was good, and then you've got to dream it all up again in some other way, and you're taking a risk. But either way, it is surrender. I actually think that's partly what the Emperor reversed there is. I think it's you surrendering to what does the universe want of you? What does your soul want of you? That kind of thing. And that's probably the best way to deal with the energy, to know that something has to course correct and to let it just emerge. So what does that look like in terms of signs and symbols? Can we get a little bit more clarity that way? So around the yellowing, around where you thought you kind of had it all together, but there's still work to do. Pile 3. Dance, exercise, movement, victory, confidence. Yeah, you felt really good. I'm sorry, because you felt really good. And you know what? You should. You did a lot of really good work. Like the yelling tells you've done a lot of really good work. You've done a lot of healing. And there was cause for celebration, but it wasn't the end of the journey. There's still further to go. What about the darkening? When there's an offer, but you're not really sure what to make of it. Ear, non-visual perception, receptivity, intuition, awakening, gossip. So yeah, there could literally be gossip around this. You might be worried about that. But listen a lot. Right now, listen a lot. Like you're either clairaudient and you're going to get some messages that way, or just listen to what's said and maybe look at what's said and what's done. If it's another person, best way to work out whether they're the real deal is to look whether or not they walk their talk. They claim to be a certain thing and then you don't say it. So if somebody says, for instance, I'm really compassionate and caring and I care about those who have less than me or whatever, and then you go out to dinner and they're rude to the waiter or waitress, you can be pretty sure that they're just talking a load of rubbish. So pay attention to that sort of thing. It's like listen at the moment. There is information that's going to come to you that way. And then when we're in the void, changing direction, not really knowing what's going to come from it. Boat, adventure, travel, exploration, love, spiritual journey. You see it as a spiritual journey. And see it as an adventure. You'll be okay. You've done so much work here, and even like being prepared, going, okay, I'm happy to course correct. I realise I need to change direction in some way. And look at this, changing direction. She's looking in that direction, the boat's going in that direction. There's definitely a shift. It's either to join with someone or realising that it's not the right person to join with. And there's a different way for you to be sovereign, but you have to surrender to the spiritual journey. Either way, you're changing direction. Let's see what's going on astrologically at each stage. So when you're kind of happy, thinking, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Now the dream is within sight. Uranus and Neptune, yeah, you could see major change towards your dreams. But change was underneath everything. Change was coming. You'd probably gone through a lot of change, so you thought, okay, I'm through that. But it's like, there was like a tower moment, but now there's the moment of deeper introspection and so forth to consider who you want in your life moving forward. So the astrological energy with that is Mercury and Chiron. Yeah, it's all about communication. Everything you need to know, whether this will be helping your healing and something that you then launch into and find together in whatever type of relationship it is, or whether it would actually be something that was a problem for your healing, you'll know through listening to what they say. Communication is the main thing to pay attention to at the moment. And then when you're going on the new exploration, Chiron and Pluto, yeah, then the big ticket. There was a shock, okay? There was a shock that happened to you or something, like there was the earlier tower moment or whatever, that happened to you that actually brought about a real spiritual evolution and revelation. And it's real, and it really is there, and it's a really good bedrock. But there's a second thing coming through where it's like, can I trust what I'm hearing? But when you really go into surrendering, the true healing is much more powerful on a really transformative level. So I also wanted to have a look at what spiritual archetypes you would be showing in each stage. So again, when you've had this spiritual awakening and enlightenment and you're feeling like, oh, good, I've kind of understood it now, the spiritual archetype at that point, the mother, okay. So fertility, fortune, and abundance. You thought, okay, I can create something. I can create something now. And maybe mother yourself. Like, I feel there's a real independence and a separation out, but you're going to create something. You thought, okay, now I'm going to create something. And that's a really lovely energy. But then you move into this, could be great, but could also not be great. It still depends. Connection, offer, or whatever. What do you need to access archetypally? The forest mystic, grounding and enlightenment. Yeah, ground it. Really work it out. It's telling you over and over. Like, is this actually, like, pay attention to the signs, what's being said, what's being done, being grounded. Could be an offer that's too good to be true. As they say, if it feels too good to be true, it usually is. But if it's sort of something that kind of could be true, pay attention to what they say and what they do. And then what do you access when you go through the very big transformation and healing and changing of direction? The oracle, well, then that would make sense. It's opening up your own oracular ability by going into the void. Divination, intuition, foresight. It's when you really jump into this and you start going, it's actually fulfilling what the mother wanted to do, because this is the womb of creativity and it's really doing it and it's seeing what you want to bring in. So this will ultimately work really well for you, but it's a transitory stage. It's almost like you'd need to do this again to see what the next step was after you've gone through this. But you need to go through it first, I would say. Okay, so just to finish off, I'm just doing what I often do these days, where I actually say choose a number between 1 and 5, because I'm going to put out 5 tarot cards from a different deck. And I'm just going to tell you, depending upon which number you choose, what your synthesizing message is. So if you don't know what the number is and you can't just instantly think of it, like if you need to sort of meditate, pause, because I'm about to lay it out. So when you unpause, we'll be getting into what each number means. So number 1, the Chariot reversed, going right back to that. Number 2, Devotion. Oh, that's interesting. That's an additional card in this deck. Number 3, 7 of Pentacles reversed. Number 4, King of Pentacles reversed. Number 5, 9 of Wands. Okay. So if you chose number 1, this has really halted progress. It's really upset the apple cart for you. And I do think there might be a fairly strong indication this offer or whatever is not really on your life path. But of course, always stress test it with what they say do and what you think about it. But I feel like, yes, it could be changing direction and so forth, but I feel like it coming up twice. I feel like it's more saying this is a diversion from your direction and your path rather than being on your path. But you still have to go to this, and it may actually be one of those kind of diversions that would actually make you realise there was another layer that you needed to deal with. If you came to number 2, this is very spiritual. This is all drawing you towards this. It's like as I said, this is a bit like crossing the abyss. For some of you, this is almost like high magic. It's almost like the process of doing this and really, really going into that side of things. It's almost like, you know, as they say in high magic, attaining the conversation with the holy guardian angel. There's that kind of energy about it, but your devotion to your spirituality is the thing that you should focus on, because there's a lot of power in it and a lot of information that will come to you. If you chose number 3, the thing to think about this offer is whether or not it's going to grow. And I think listen to the words, look at the fine print if it's a legal contract, whatever it is, because as I say, this is the mother energy. You want to create something. This is the womb of creation. This is a little blip in the center. Like, is it going to grow, or is it something that is not taking you where you're going to grow? If you chose number 4, the way to almost tell whether this is something that you're meant to connect with, and then both of you do this, is if this is coming off something that needs to shift to a new level and start again. So if the other person, if you've reached that point where you've become independent and you're ready to go on a journey, if the other person in a way is at a similar thing, they've left a workplace or something like that, it might work, because this seems to be coming off an energy of something that reached its level, and that's why you have to start again. So that may be a way to help judge it. Like, where is this other person coming from? Otherwise, I do think it's again saying it's a bit of a kind of a blip on the radar, taking you away from what you're meant to be doing. If you chose number 5, it's a sign you're really close to something, closer than you'd think. So again, the choice about whether to go forward with the offer comes down to listening to work out whether it would take you across the finish line of something that you want to do. If you don't think it would, then you need to keep on what you're doing, because you're closer to the outcome than you expect. So I hope that resonates. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.